Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and I am joined tonight by Trey, and you were actually watching another episode of Speak Out. So, Trey, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing okay. I'm dealing with a 3-year-old you might be hearing in the background.
Yeah,
I'm
it
doing
sounds
great.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of late over there on your side, right?
Oh, dude, my 3-year-old apparently doesn't believe in bedtimes. The other night she was up till midnight and sleeps in. So, but no, man, I'm good. It's we finally have a good Bucks Nets game. It looks like low scoring. I mean, I'm just glad we finally have a game in this series. A lot of good NBA matchups going on. Out the Drama King is out, so I'm excited to be here, man.
Absolutely, and you know, we've talked about this Bucks and Nets series for the previous couple weeks, actually, and so we kind of had it going a little differently. You had the Bucks, or sorry, you had the Nets in 6. I actually had the Nets in 5. And the way that I've seen it as of late, I'm starting to question whether this is going to be a clean sweep of the Nets. Now, can the Bucks hold on to win this game tonight? We were talking about that, but I don't think they really can, because when you think about it, they already blew that 21-point lead that they had in the first quarter, and that was simply because Giannis and Middleton were the only guys hitting their shots, and the Nets couldn't hit anything. I mean, the Nets were just absolutely just horrendous in the first quarter. Kevin Durant wasn't shooting well. Kyrie Irving wasn't shooting well. And we even mentioned that without James Harden, it's slowing the Nets down a little bit, but imagine if James Harden was playing in this game. Imagine. Would this game even be close if James Harden was playing in this game? So, Trey, you go ahead and take that away.
No, to answer your question, no, because James Harden gives you that third scorer, plus he has that playmaking ability. He can give you 20 assists a night if he wanted to, especially with the second unit. He's proven that with the Houston Rockets. James Harden, dude, this series is a wrap. This series, and I'll get into it a bit later in the show as well, but, man, just the Milwaukee Bucks, who are the highest scoring team in the league this year, set a record pace for high points scored, are not hitting wide open threes. Yeah, the Nets are playing better defense than what everyone thought, but, man, just they're not a lot of wide open shots tonight that no one is hitting. You saw PJ Tucker, who's great at shooting the corner threes, hitting the side of the backboard. You have Brook Lopez, who's mastered the three-point shot as well, wide open, airballing. Giannis shooting 6 of them, which we all know he cannot shoot. Taking 6 shots in the 3, finally making 1, and then his free throw shooting is horrific as well. But James Harden comes in. If James Harden with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant not scoring, luckily they had Brown here in this game because he picked up the load whenever the other teams were struggling and got a little bit of rhythm right there. But now you're starting to see Kevin Durant already has 21 points in the second half already. Kyrie Irving still a little bit slow, but, man, the defense is coming up big. Brown's coming up. If you just put James Harden on this team, this will be a 30-point blowout. I mean, yeah, the Bucks came out swinging hard in the first quarter like they were supposed to, but then they give it all the way back within the first 5 minutes of the second quarter. James Harden, I just don't see how anyone can defend this Brooklyn Nets team. And it was the way they're playing defense like they are right now. They're locked in on the defensive end. And James Harden on giving you the assist and the point totals that he's giving you, I just don't see anyone beating this Nets team and this Bucks team. I'll get a little bit later on the show, a little teaser for later on the show. But this Brooklyn Nets team is for real. I just think that they're the team to beat. I don't see anyone beating them.
All right, so let me ask you this then, since we're talking about the Nets and the Bucks here. What do you think is going wrong for the Bucks? And the reason I'm asking this is because when this round started, when round 2 of the playoffs started, everybody thought that the Bucks and the Nets were going to be like the series to watch in the second round. But the Nets have come out just looking just dominant as ever. And then people were even talking about, the Suns and the Nuggets. And then they were talking about the Jazz and the Clippers being the good games too. Well, the Suns are looking really good. The Nets are looking really good. And I've already said that my initial prediction for the NBA Finals was going to be the Nets versus the Suns. And I'm sticking to that. I'm not changing my pick at all. But I actually have the Nets going on and actually beating the Suns in the NBA championship. But I'm right with you when we're talking about, can anybody beat the Nets? I don't know at this point, but let's save that for later. We'll go ahead and we'll get into that one a little bit more later. But let's go ahead and talk about our first topic, which, when we jump into, let's go ahead and talk about the Suns. So as we saw yesterday, the Suns took that 2-0 series lead when everybody knows that, Jokic was the MVP of the NBA, and everybody was looking at this going, this series is going to be really, really good. But the Phoenix Suns have shown right now that people cannot slow them down. And the reason why I think the Phoenix Suns are as good as they are, it's because it's not like a Milwaukee Bucks team to where you have to rely on Giannis or Middleton in order to do anything. This Phoenix Suns team is so loaded that Ayton can shoot the ball. Chris Paul can shoot the ball. Devin Booker can shoot the ball. Bridges can shoot the ball. So you have everybody who can pitch in and get you double digits every game. So you don't have to rely on that one guy to go out there and get you 38 points every game. This Suns team is so deep that they can hit you from every direction, inside, outside. They can dominate the boards, and they're great shooting free throws too. Trey.
Yeah, you're right. I think the Suns' biggest challenge was the LA Lakers. I'd say if they get past the LA Lakers, they have a legitimate shot to come out of the Western Conference. I'm telling you, don't sleep on the Utah Jazz either. Playoff Donovan Spider-Man, man. Donovan Mitchell is a playoff performer. Donovan Mitchell can give you – he showed in the bubble when him and Jamal Murray were coming back going back and forth with the 50-point gains, shot for shot. That was fun to watch, even though it was in the bubble, because I don't believe the bubble is a true playoff or true testament, because it was basically AAU basketball or rec ball, is whatever you want to call it. But you're right. I mean, I hope this, just for your sake, I hope the Suns do make it to the finals, just because CP3 deserves it. CP3 deserves to be in the finals. He's one of the best point guards we've seen. He doesn't do anything flashy. He just plays the game the right way on the offense. He controls everything. He's a coach on the floor. He plays the game with hard hustle, everything you need in a bulldog of a point guard, and he does everything well. But, yeah, you're right. The reemergence of Cameron Payne, man, that guy is saving that bit. I mean, you have him coming off with his attitude and his aggressiveness, his three-point shot, making his defense, he's an agitator as well. On the defensive end, he gets under people's skin. He's not backing down. You have Ayton, who's been a stud in the center of for the Phoenix Suns this year as well in the playoffs. The Suns they're deep. They just had to get past the Lakers, and they did. Yeah, I even think with AD playing, I think the Suns would have took that series in 6 games. I don't think it would have made any difference. I think they just got the playoff mojo going. It was their first playoff in like 11 years or whatever the case may be, and they all the young players, and they just got it under their skin, like, oh, it's just basketball, let's go out there and play. And they got confidence as the series went on, and you saw that, and it got LeBron James frustrated. But I just think that the Suns, if I think the Jazz would be a better matchup for the Suns than the Clippers. I think the Clippers, with the defense of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, wherever Paul George is going to show up, you have Morris, who can hit a shot here and there, a momentum shot, play defense and agitator. I think that's going to be a tougher matchup for the Suns, but I could definitely see the Suns making it all the way to the finals against the Brooklyn Nets. I can definitely see that. It's a toss-up right now for the Western Conference. And I'm not even counting out the Denver Nuggets right now. And you're seeing that the Denver Nuggets are missing Jamal Murray. They need that extra score, and the Suns are taking every advantage. You know, they're saying, Jokic, you can go out and go get yours, right? But we're not going to let all these other guys beat us. But then you see Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's not having a good year. And then now with who's that guy? What's his name? Porter Jr.
Porter Jr.
Aggravating his ankle, not making any shots last night. If he's out or injured, not even 80% of himself, Jokic has no chance. He had a great regular season, but he needs another scorer to step up, and they just don't have that right now. That's where they're missing Jamal Murray in this series.
Yeah, but that's the biggest problem. When we had talked about the Denver Nuggets and when we talked about the Phoenix Suns, okay, the one thing that I said was that the Nuggets were going to struggle because Jokic doesn't have that second guy. Now, and I'm not saying it was you, Trey, but I kind of got blasted on that when people were like, well, the Suns are going to have to prove and kind of get past the Nuggets. If they can get past the Nuggets, they can prove how good they actually are. But to me personally, the Nuggets were more depleted than the Lakers were. So
yeah, you're right.
Why would they have to prove and be like, if you come out and beat the Nuggets, how does that prove anything? Because they were more depleted than what the Lakers were. They got past the Lakers, which everybody was like, they're not going to get past the Lakers, but they did. They got past them. And now if they come out and sweep the Nuggets, I mean, come on, man. Come on.
If you're right. If they sweep the Nuggets, then this team's for real. But they have to go to Denver in that we all know that altitude. But Phoenix is a young team, but I see where they're coming from. But they don't have Jamal Murray. They would have Jamal Murray in this series, and they beat I'll be like, okay, they got to prove it against the Denver Nuggets. But all they have is Jokic. I mean, that's their only consistent scorer and assist man on that team. He doesn't have any help. Jokic can get 40, 15, and 10 every night, and they still lose by 20 points against this Phoenix Suns team because they have no one that can consistently guard Devin Booker.
They don't.
Devin Booker's Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant was his childhood hero. He loved Kobe Bryant, and you can see the mindset that he has. Like he's going to be a cold-blooded killer in the fourth quarter as his career gets better. You can already see that right now, and you saw that against the Lakers series too, where every time they make a little run, Devin Booker always made a shot to end that run and stop all momentum for each team, and you saw that with Denver last night as well. Then you had a Chris Paul who calms everything down. No one can handle Chris Paul. The master of the mid-range. His shoulders getting healthier and healthier as the days go on. Denver just doesn't have enough weapons. And for God's sake, we get Rivers out of freaking the NBA because he'll go on a little hot streak, but then he's nowhere to be found for the next 6 weeks. Rivers is just awful. I never liked Rivers' game, be honest with you. But I honestly think the Suns have this one in the bag. I just thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive. I thought Jokic and Porter Jr. was going to make that next step this playoffs, and he has yet to do it. So, but you're right. I mean, if Murray's not in there, they're not at full strength. It had no bearing on it. Suns are the better team without Murray. But if Murray was playing, oh my God, Murray, this will go 7. This would go 7.
But I still think that the Suns are still the better team. Even if Murray plays, I still think the Suns are the better team. And that's only because the Suns are deeper. They're deeper in the starting 5 and they're deeper on the bench. So that's why I might agree with you that it might go 7, but the Suns are still that better team. It's like I was saying, everybody can contribute on the Suns. Everybody can get you double digits every single night.
Yep.
And that's what they have over the Nuggets at this point. But let's get to a few comments here. So we have Brandon Herrera's who's saying, how about that bad man and Blake Griffin? All right. Blake Griffin, we'll go ahead and touch on Blake Griffin when we get to the Nets. We're not quite there yet, so we'll save Blake Griffin for that topic. And then he says, speaking of MVP, I say Cat was robbed. LOL, just kidding.
Oh, good God. Lay off, man. Lay off your new team wolves down.
And then
you,
God Over Sports Network, which is ran by John Alcorn. How's it going tonight, my man? And I'm going to say, what is up? I hope you're having a fantastic night. And then Nate is actually saying that they proved themselves when they beat the Lakers. And you know what? We had talked about that. But the biggest speculation at this point in time that people were talking about, they were saying, yeah, the Suns beat the Lakers. But a lot of Lakers fans are like, well, it would have been different if Anthony Davis was healthy and if LeBron James was healthy. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
No, because I hate going because LeBron's getting all the. I hate talking about the Lakers, but I'll say this:
You're correct.
the Suns were gaining momentum as that
They were.
series. Yeah, they lost Game 3 2-1, which was expected, but
Mhm.
they were in the game and they were gaining momentum. And even with AD playing in Game 4, they would have won that. Mark Jackson said it best: the Suns were the better team, even with AD. The Lakers effed up. I'm not going to say the word, but they screwed up by getting Drummond. Drummond was not a good fit for the Lakers. He can't space you out. He's afraid to lead the paint, and then he clogs the lane for LeBron and these other playmakers to go to the rim. And you saw that congested lane, and that's what the Suns finally figured out. All you're going to do is congest the lane because LeBron James is going to hit a three here and there, but he's not going to be consistently. He doesn't trust his jump shot enough to do that. LeBron James is you see it in this series with the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. Just back off of them, and if you clog the lane, that's basically what happened. That's exactly what happened. But the Suns were getting momentum. Booker was gaining momentum. Booker just needed a couple games to get his playoff feet wet, his first time in the playoffs, because it is a different animal. The defense intensity picks up every night, and he plays the same exact team every other night. So he just got to get that mindset, and he started to get in Game 4 and Game 5 and Game 6. It was going to be a wrap, no matter if Anthony Davis played or not. And that's what I can't stand about Lake. And I'm a Laker fan. I'm going to say this right now. I was a Laker fan until they got LeBron James, and that was it for me. I can't do it. And I know a lot of Laker player or fans that are with me and say, I can't stand LeBron. I can't root for him. There's no way. I wish they never would have got him. And that's and
sorry, I got you on that tangent.
You did, but this is all about the Phoenix Suns.
I got you on that tangent.
The Phoenix Suns have a great chance of making the NBA Finals, and I do think that they're the best team left in these playoffs. Especially if Mike Conley Jr. is not playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, how long he's going to be out with this hamstring. We're going to see tonight here in a couple minutes how that's going to play out. But you saw in Game 1 that it's going to be that the Jazz's offense is more stagnant whenever Ingles is better coming off the bench than he is being point guard for the Utah Jazz. But the Phoenix Suns, I mean, if they can just I think they are going to get past the Denver Nuggets. I just think that they don't want to face. I think they can beat the Clippers, but I'm not trusting because we all know Kawhi Leonard in playoffs is usually pretty good. I think he's averaging over 30 points, over 10 rebounds a game. So I hope they would face if they face the Utah Jazz, it's going to be a fun series. That's going to be a fun back and boom, boom, boom fun series. But I'm with you, Adam. I think that the Phoenix Suns are the best team left in this series in the Western Conference overall team wise.
I was going to say the only person that I'm kind of up and down, back and forth on with the Clippers is kind of Paul George. And when it comes to Paul George, I trust him, but then I don't, because he will have a big game and then he'll kind of have a crappy game. But he's kind of always been like that throughout his whole career in the playoffs. So, when we talk about the Suns and, we're talking about how they could potentially sweep the Nuggets, and if they do sweep the Nuggets, who can beat them? Well, let's say that the Clippers come out and beat the Jazz. All right, so I think the Suns versus the Clippers would be a great series. And who do you trust more? Do you trust the Clippers or do you trust the Suns? Well, I don't know, because you have the Chris Paul effect, but then you have Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's to me, it's kind of a toss-up, but let's get to a few more comments here. So God Over Sports Network, yes, Ace without a beard, that is right. I
know, I didn't recognize you at first. I'm like, who is this, a twin brother?
Yeah, I no longer have the beard. The beard is now gone. Nate also says Austin Rivers is the Jared Goff of the NFL. I don't want to go that far because Jared Goff is he's trash. Okay, he's Goffle. And I know you're going to probably say that same thing.
He's right. Jared Goff had that one good year with Sean McVay when he first came in the league. And Rivers had that one good year with the Rockets. And ever since then, they both sucked. So that's actually a fair comparison by Nate the Great.
All right. So then we also have God Over Sports Network. Regardless of depth, they're the more healthier team. That's what matters. Completely true. The Suns are the healthier team. They're looking better. LeBron got cocky and threw tantrum during Game 5. Wouldn't matter if they were all healthy. And I've said that multiple times. I don't think it would have mattered, but I don't really want to get into that tangent again because we've already talked about that on Speak Out multiple times. And then Nate is saying, wow, the Bucks won. I still think it will be Nets in 5. I still think it'll be Nets in 5. I came out and said it would be Nets in 5. The Bucks got their win. The Bucks actually should have won this game by a lot more. They had a 21-point lead in the first quarter. They allowed the Nets to come back and take the lead for a while. But when you only have 2 guys on your team that score your whole first quarter points, and Giannis and Chris Middleton, that is completely ridiculous, man. Like, nobody else was stepping up. And so that allowed the Nets to creep back in the game. We also have God Over Sports Network that is saying his name is actually PG 13%. Correct. 13% is actual accurate. And then God Over Sports Network, I know he's asking why I shaved the beard. I don't know. I just shaved it because it was kind of annoying me. It was kind of getting in the way. And plus, for my job, I wanted to look a little bit more professional for my job also. So I decided to go ahead and shave the beard.
And it's also summertime. It's also 100 degrees everywhere you go now. And the humidity's picking up everywhere. And it's makes
All right. So now we'll go ahead and jump into our next topic of the night, which I know you've kind of been waiting for this one here. So the Pacers firing their head coach after one season. And they were saying it's because the Pacers ended their playoff streak that they had going. And so that's why they did it. But Trey, what you're thinking, was this the right move?
No. I'll give you, the NBA did this in Indianapolis Pacers, right? LeVert had to miss those games because of COVID tracing policy. And I'm not getting to the other subject. But anyway, we all know who I'm thinking about on the other who didn't get safety protocol. But it's a society that we're living in now, right? Like, everybody wants instant results. Like, if your team fails one time, then, oh, crap, this coach's fault, you got to get fired. Like, they need, like, in the NFL, it used to be you have to wait 3 years. And then Peyton Manning and all these quarterbacks come in, they start right away, and then they succeed, and now everyone thinks that they're going to get the next Peyton Manning. They need the quarterback to step up right away. It's this knee-jerk reaction that we have to win now, instead of waiting out the process. That's just when they traded Oladipo, when they traded a lot of players, LeVert wasn't going to play. That team is done for no matter what. I mean, let me ask you this: if you're the Pacers, wouldn't you rather have a lottery pick this year in this NBA draft than getting swept in the first round against the Philadelphia 76ers and not getting a lottery pick? I think it's better, unless the only thing I can think of is that they had their head coach in mind waiting in the realm for this year. But this 1 year crap of, you basically don't give a coach a chance to succeed or implement his system that he wants to run or his culture that he wants to run in 1 year. It needs time to progress, and you need at least 3 to 4 years to do that. This knee-jerk, and plus it was a crappy year because of COVID reasons as well. All year long, players were saying now for COVID, you're bringing people in and out of the G League, and it wasn't the same year. So the coach got shafted on 1 year deal in a bad year with COVID, where he had all excuses in the world, and yet these knee-jerk reactions like, oh, it's because their playoff streak ended. Give me a break. It's the Eastern Conference, and everyone in the world, even the Cleveland Cavaliers, had a chance to make the playoffs this year. And we all know how horrific they were. So the only thing I could think of is that they have a coach in mind. They're thinking about the hire, but I just don't understand these ownerships and this knee-jerk reaction. Listen to sports radio, the fan, and that's the worst thing that an ownership can do is start listening to the fans, the sports radio, talk show hosts, people like me and you who criticize these guys, and we have no idea. If we get the keys to the franchise, we wouldn't know what to do. We'd probably make these stupid moves too. So they would turn off the radio and just trust yourself. You hired this guy for a reason, and you didn't give him a chance to succeed or give him a chance at all. You gave him no shot, and they should have stuck it out. But good luck, Indiana Pacers, keep trying to get a head coach. I got 2 good coaches in your head right now, in my head, that would be probably a good fit for you. One of them is Becky Hammond.
I mean, is there something internal that is going on that we didn't know about? We don't know. There could have been, but when you come out and just say that you fired a coach after 1 year because it ended their playoff streak, I mean, that's kind of crap, man, because I completely agree with you. it's been a COVID year. It's been tough on so many teams because of COVID. So I don't understand how you can look at a coach and be like, well, you're not our right fit. You are the one who cost us our playoff streak. No, it's not, man. It's just, it's how the dominoes fell. It's just because of the COVID season that there were so many people out for it. But it's like you're saying, though, now, it doesn't matter the sport. They're going to look at coaches and players and say, what have you done for me now? That's what it's about. So back then, coaches could stick around for a lot longer. Now the coaches don't seem to stick around as much because they want you to produce right now. They want you to win right now. And if you don't, you're gone. You are absolutely gone. And I think it is the most ridiculous thing, to be perfectly honest. But Trey, I'm going to go back to you because you said you had a few coaches in mind that you thought would be perfect for the Pacers. So go ahead. Who do you think would be a perfect fit for the Pacers?
Oh, Becky Hammon. I mean, that's my top choice for any team. Celtics, Pacers. Becky Hammon's proven she can be a head coach, and the players will listen to Becky Hammon. She won a D-League/G League championship with the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs loved Becky Hammon. Players all around the league love Becky Hammon. She knows her basketball better than any other coaches out there. I will say Greg Popovich gave her great insight. I would love Becky Hammon, but I would love Becky Hammon as a Celtic coach, but she'll be a good coach anywhere she lands. And then Jason Kidd's going to be out there. Jason Kidd, he'll be a hell of a coach, but I think he's waiting for that Laker. I think Frank Vogel's on the hot seat, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers fired him this year, to be honest with you. I really wouldn't, because that's who they were.
Maybe Van Gundy, maybe he comes back.
Van Gundy. There's a lot of the Portland guy. That's who else. I couldn't think of his name. He just got fired. He'll be a good head. He's a heck of it.
Stotts?
Yep, I think he'll be a good head candidate. Because in Indiana, they love their basketball, and let's just face, if LeVert did not get in or in that safety protocol and was playing those playing games, they would have beat the Washington Wizards.
But you got to also think, though, too, it wasn't only Karis LeVert who was out. Miles Turner was also hurt too.
Yeah.
So they actually had a few guys out. It wasn't just Karis LeVert. But that's my point, is they're blaming him on losing that playoff streak when you actually had a few guys out who couldn't play in the in the play-in game because of the protocol for COVID, or Miles Turner was just out because he was hurt. Now we can sit here and talk about, coaches that would be the perfect fit because, we said Van Gundy might be that guy if he chooses to come back.
Mark Jackson needs another coaching
gig. Which we actually have a few comments who are actually talking about that. But yeah, I don't want to get into the whole shaving my beard right now. No, it was not over a bet. It was just because I wanted to. So
you do know you opened a whole can of worms with you shaving that.
I did. I know.
You knew it was coming.
But and yes, Nate, to answer your question, it was the coach's first year. And Brandon is now saying, is it easier to get rid of players so he's basically saying, is it easier to fire the team or fire the coach? And to me personally, I guess when you look at what's been going on, it's been a lot easier to actually fire coaches because they won't even blame it on the coach. Say, I gave you players and you're just not doing what you're supposed to be doing by putting it together and winning as games. But not all coaches have those players in place to help them win games, which I think is complete ridiculous.
It's on the ownership. Yeah,
exactly. Well, it's not.
Let's be honest. The NBA is a players' league. Coaches have no say, so players have all the say. So, and that's where they're messing up. The NFL guys are right. Like NFL set their ground rules. This is a coaches' league. You're going to listen to your coaches. And NBA, for whatever reason, they want to listen to their players. And for the longest time, that's why your ratings are dropping as well too, because no one cares. Let's satisfy the players. Like James Harden. Oh, I want to be traded because I don't want to play for the Houston Rockets anymore after I signed that extension, even though you had a chance for not to sign that extension. But yet you sign now, we want to bitch and whine and be out of it. And then you go, oh, but I want to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets. And then they happily do it just because it's a player league. It's stupid. This is why I'm not an owner. If I was an owner and they tell if a team like you just signed a $200 million contract, I would bench them. You're not playing. And if you do want to be traded, you're not going to a team I wanted to send you to. You're going to go to like the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're going to Minnesota Timberwolves. You're going somewhere I don't freaking care because I'm not giving because why? I just don't understand why players have all the say so when the ownerships are paying you the money. I just hate that because it's like me and you going to our job like, oh, I don't want to work for you anymore, but I would love to go work for your competitor company. If you could just train me over there. I mean, that wouldn't work out. We'll be fired without a job. So why does the NBA get a free pass? I have no idea, but that's where the NBA is kind of messing up right now because it's a players league and the coaches have no say. The coaches are just going on for the ride.
All right, so we also have Nate, who is saying Mark Jackson. So Nate is definitely agreeing with you, saying that Mark Jackson would be a candidate for the Pacers.
And he played for the Pacers too for a little bit with Reggie Miller.
So God Over Sports Network. So it's John is also saying the coach, because the coach can be used as a scapegoat, which is
exactly
technically
right.
true. When you look at coaches, that's what they do. They use coaches as a scapegoat. They don't want to blame the players and be like, oh, these players are trash, so we want to cut them or trade them or whatever. No, they want to look at the coach, say, I gave you players. You didn't do what you were supposed to be doing, so therefore we're getting rid of you instead of getting rid of the players. And that's the problem, is that so many coaches are used as scapegoats.
You're right. And there's okay, I'm sorry. And a coach can stay too long too. Like you're seeing that in San Antonio right now. Greg Popovich needs to go. I don't care if anyone's listening to this. I don't care if you love Greg Popovich. He needs to go. He's out of touch with today's.
For a long time.
He's out of touch with today's game. His team's he does not shoot the threes. He doesn't know how to get players. He's not the same coach because now that all the millennials who really like the 2005s and the they hardly ever got to see the Spurs play because they didn't see all those great years with Tim Duncan, David Robinson. I mean, yeah, they had good teams with the big three, but they didn't win their champion. 2007 was the last championship till 2014. So Greg Popovich, they're last in three. They only made 13 3-point shots a game. That's what the NBA is turning to, and he just needs to retire because he doesn't have the same say-so as he used to. And I think that's hurting the Spurs organization right now as well. But they won't. They give him a lifetime contract, and he can go anywhere that he wants. And I think that he's the last head coach that has any say-so over anything. And after he's gone, it's over with.
Oh, absolutely. But Brandon Herrera is saying that another great fit might actually be maybe Reggie Miller, because we know, Reggie Miller was a Pacer for a long time, but we don't even know how Reggie Miller would be. If
he's anything like his TV commentary, he's going to suck.
And that's the point. Like, you can't look at a player and say, okay, he was so good in the NBA. He was so good at what he did on the court, so he would make a fantastic coach. No, that doesn't necessarily mean that. We've seen it multiple times. We have seen it multiple times to where these excellent players that have played, who have been superstars in the leagues that they've played in, NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, they've gone on to try and coach, and it didn't pan out. We've seen it multiple times. So that doesn't mean just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a fantastic coach. We saw it with Larry Bird. That didn't pan out.
Yeah, I mean, I can make the argument that being the better, like the superstar, is going to hurt you being a head coach because the game easily, like Michael Jordan's a crappy owner because he was so easy, like the game just came so easily to him. Like he can do things that other people can. He can't teach it to people. That's why great role players are great NBA coaches, bench warmers, because they see the game on the sideline like a coach will, and they see how plays interact. That's why Steve Kerr's a great. Say what you want to about Steve Kerr, but he is a great coach. He's a very good coach. Mark Jackson, who got that Warriors team going, he's a great coach. I mean, all these role players name me one good superstar that became a great head coach. There's not one. You can't name you one. So that's why a superstar can't, because they can't teach things that they do to these people or to these young players, because it's not going to be the same thing just because they came naturally more easier. Yeah, they worked hard, but more stuff came easy for them than working hard and watching stuff on the bench as a role player would.
Yeah, and I think people look at the sport too, because it kind of differs from sport. Because when you look at the NBA now, we're saying, Reggie Miller doesn't mean he would make a good coach because of how good he was in the NBA. But then you can look at the NFL and everyone's like, oh, Peyton Manning, he should go in and be a head coach because of how great he was. Well, that doesn't mean that Peyton Manning would be an excellent, an NFL coach. We don't know. Look at John Elway. He's an executive in for the Broncos, and look what John Elway's done. John Elway has been was a quarterback. And the one position that John Elway struggled to find for the longest time was a quarterback, Neil. Think about that. The one position that Elway struggled to find was a freaking quarterback, and John Elway was a quarterback. So explain that one. So at this point in time, it's going to be hard to sit here and say, yeah, bring in a superstar coach or a superstar player that was so good with what he did. Hopefully he'll pan out as a coach. We don't know. But all right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is we know right now that the Brooklyn Nets, which that's why we said we were going to come back to this topic when people were asking the questions about it. Well, the Brooklyn Nets, we know that James Harden is injured. He injured the hamstring, and this is the same hamstring that he actually injured during the regular season, which cost him to miss 21 games. He came back just for a couple games before the playoffs had started. He re-injured it in the second round against the Bucks. Didn't play, but just a little bit in the first game. Missed the whole second game, and now we missed the third game. But the question is, because we've seen the Nets come out and dominate the Bucks in the second game, they lost to the Bucks in the third game. Does this mean without James Harden that the Nets will not make the NFL Finals? What I'm saying is that I still think it doesn't matter if the Nets have James Harden or not. I still say the Nets are going to make the NBA Finals. I think they're too good of a team. They're still deep. You have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving still, so I don't think it really matters. But Trey, yes or no? Do you differ from my opinion on this, that the Nets will actually make it?
Oh, Nets are making the NBA Finals unless Kevin Durant tears his Achilles again, Kyrie Irving starts thinking the world's flat again and goes on a hiatus or something like that. This team's too good. I mean, this team is too – and their bench players are so good. I give it up to Steve Nash. He's a hell of a coach. If you just watch what he does with this team, yeah, I know they have great superstars and everything, but the way they locked in on – and I thought for the longest of the regular season, Steve Nash never played defense, and then they have D'Antoni, who's an assistant head coach. They're playing defense, man. They held the Milwaukee Bucks to 80 points.
They are now, yeah.
They're playing. They're locked in. Kevin Durant is becoming a great defensive player. Should have been defensive player of the year back with the Warriors, or our first team all defensive team back when he played for the first game of the Warriors. His defense is getting better and better each year as well. So the only hiccup I see if Joel Embiid and the 76ers get past the Atlanta Hawks, which I still have reservations on that one. It depends on what Trae Young does tomorrow night. But if Joel Embiid is playing this way and giving you 40 a night, and then you have Harris giving you some points, and then you give the scoring, you get Seth Curry going. The only thing that sucks, though, is Ben Simmons.
He's so up and down.
He's a great defensive player. He's a great passer, but he cannot.
Great rebounder.
He can't score. He can't score. I think, what is he, 3 for 21 at the free throw line? I mean, it's ridiculous. But if the Nets will have no answers for Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid can hit the 3-point shot better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. He can hit the mid-range shot. He can go inside. He's way bigger than Giannis. I mean, the dudes, if he can stay healthy, he can give the Nets problems. But you also have Kevin Durant on the other side who can drop 40 on you in the quickest, faster than a heart attack. And then you also have Kyrie Irving, who I don't think anyone can stop him. You have Ben Simmons on him. Then you have Harris on the outside shooting threes. I just think that the Nets are over. I think it'll be a better series. I think the Philadelphia Sixers are the only team that have a realistic shot at taking the Nets to 7, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the Nets just have way too much star power and way too much going on right now. I just think that the Nets are just too good, too deep. But I mean, nothing would surprise me. I can see the Sixers winning a couple games, and could they still win with, like, we had a bad shooting night with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Maybe, but I just don't see the Nets team losing 4 games to any particular team. No way.
No, I don't, but I agree with you that the 76ers would definitely give them their best. So if you're looking at an overall series that if anybody had a shot at beating the Nets, it would be the 76ers if James Harden is out. If he's out. Because right at this point in time, we don't know when James Harden's going to be back, because we know how long that hamstring kept him out for in the regular season. That was 21 games. And so if we're talking about 21 games, that's close. That is close to the rest of the playoffs. So that could kind of be unless somehow, one of these series with the Nets end up going to 7 games, which at this point in time, I don't see it. Maybe the 76ers, but let's not overlook the Atlanta Hawks as the dark horse team to knock off the Sixers. They can't beat the Nets, but they could potentially be that dark horse team that will come out and beat the Sixers to where you won't see the Nets versus
Exactly
the Sixers.
right.
Yeah,
Because
the
Hawks are that team. They have 3-point shooting everywhere, and they get hot from the 3-point range. They can beat you any given. You're seeing it right now. They stole a home court advantage away from the 76ers. Now, if they figured out Ben Simmons is a factor on Trae Young, where Trae Young goes ice cold like he did in Game 2, then the series is going to be wrapping for 5-6 games. But that's the wrinkle effect. And then also Joel Embiid, can he stay healthy enough? He's playing with a tear meniscus right now. Every time he falls to the floor, I hold my breath. I'm like, oh, he's going to be down again. How long can he? It's hard for big men of his stature staying healthy all series long, and it's hard. So I think the Nets would beat either team, but I think for NBA's sake, I think you need the Sixers and Nets to have a more competitive series because the Nets match up way better for the Hawks than what the Sixers do. The Nets can shoot 3 for 3, and it'd be like a high-scoring game, and they'll outscore the Atlanta Hawks easily. But I think that the Philadelphia 76ers can slide us some margins. They can beat the Nets, but I still have the Nets winning this whole thing. I just don't see any team beating them. There's just no way.
No, the only way that I could see, and I don't want to say it, but maybe the Suns could give them a good run. If the Suns faced up against the Nets in the NBA Finals, it might be a good run. Maybe the Clippers. I don't know, but I'm looking at the Suns saying potentially
Clippers.
because
I'm talking Eastern Conference.
Oh, okay. So you're not talking about overall, if they met somebody in the finals.
I think the Clippers can give the Nets all they can handle. I think the Clippers match up really well with the Nets because you have Kawhi Leonard who can take away Kevin Durant, not take away, but make a life living hell for him. Patrick Beverley is a nuisance. I think he'd be a better on-ball defender with Kyrie Irving. Paul George, like you said, he's going to be the X factor in that series. But for some reason, they got to get past this Utah Jazz team. But I think that the Clippers match up really well. And like you said, the Suns, if Booker's getting hot, Chris Paul getting – because if you make it to the finals, they have no one with experience in the finals on that team. Nobody. Chris Paul has never been to the finals. So he won't have any experience. But he is a great floor general. But the way the Nets are playing, the way they're playing getting momentum and the way they're getting more confidence each game, it looks like, I just think – They could make it a hell of a series, but I just think that the Clippers match up better with the Nets than any other team in the Western Conference. But now the Utah Jazz, if they can make threes and make a beautiful ball movement off and on, and they have one of the best defenses in the league as well, they can make it hard. But Rudy Gobert, I just don't trust because the Nets will go small against the Utah Jazz, right? Like they'll take Rudy Gobert out. Like, okay. Because the Clippers so go ahead. But I just think that Sixers are going to be the Sixers in the Eastern Conference are the only team that can beat or make it an interesting series.
So let's go ahead and get to a few comments here. So we have Brandon Herrera who's saying, hey, don't talk about being traded to the Wolves. They are rebuilding. Nobody's going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nobody's going.
I'm just saying if I was the owner. If I was the owner.
Yeah, if you were the owner. Yeah, but yeah, we're not talking about trading to the Wolves, okay? And Trey, he's saying great comment about Miller. And then Joanne, so our newest admin on the network, which is Joanne, welcome. And we're glad you're watching the show tonight. She says, I agree with Trey. I think elite athletes are pumped up their entire lives to believe that they can accomplish anything. Athletic talent doesn't mean you have a natural coaching ability, which is absolutely true. But then it comes into our next comment to where Brandon's saying, he's basically calling you out, Trey, and saying that Nash was a superstar and now a great coach.
Nash wasn't a superstar. Nash was not a superstar. Don't give me that.
Well, he was a great MVP. He did win MVP.
Yeah, one of those years it should have been Kobe's. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Look at his stats. Kobe had a lot better stats than Steve Nash, but Steve Nash's team was
But there was games though that people could say that Steve Nash could take over a game, and he could. He could. So
I guess you're right.
People might consider him a superstar because he could shoot the three He
I
could.
just don't see him. He's a star. I'm not saying he's not. There's only legitimate superstars.
No, he's not a superstar, but he was definitely a star.
He was a star, but he was no superstar back in the day. It was Kobe. And he didn't play defense, man. Come on, how can you give a guy a superstar when you don't even play any defense? I love Steve Nash. I love Steve Nash.
So to wrap up this topic here, so your final answer was, can the Nets make the finals with James Harden and without James Harden? And you're saying yes, they can make it without James Harden. I also said that they can make it without James Harden. So we're going to kind of do something a little untraditional here that we haven't really done on Speak Out, because we've only ever talked about NBA on Speak Out. But I only wanted to talk about this topic because it happened, okay? And I'm like, Trey, we got to talk about this because
only to this team, right?
Yeah, only to this team. And this is the only reason I brought this up, because I'm like, Trey, this is something we have to talk about because it's a big headline. And so it definitely should be something that we should discuss. And I know, it was also in the group chat that we had posted in there that people are saying, did he touch the bag? And people are saying he did. But the question is simply this: should a runner be called out if he hits a home run and misses any base? Not just first base, not second base or third base, or even home for that matter. But if he misses a base, should he be considered out at that point?
Yes. I mean, yes. It's been that's part of hitting a home. It's the easiest job. You tell me we're giving Major League more professional athletes more leeway. Like for the longest time, the double play ball, right? You never had to touch the bag to turn two. You just had to hurdle the bag, right? Now you have to touch the bag. You have one job. It's not that hard. You're not being on a throw. You can walk around these bases and just touch a bag. It's not that hard. Yes, right? All you got to do is touch a bag. And then even if you miss the bag, because if you made or missed it, go back and touch the bag. I mean, who freaking cares? It's in the rules. You have to touch the bag. Well, I'm not changing just because of a home run. You have to touch a bag. It's plain and simple. I don't even know why we're arguing this segment. I don't know why you put it in this segment. Everyone's going to agree with me. Yes, this is stupid. You have to touch every bag.
Trust me, I agree with you, but the only reason I put this in there was because you got to think, when Bobby Witt Jr. hit this home run, it was his first career home run. He never hit one. And then on his first career one, he missed first base. And then this is where it happened. Like, fans basically exploded at the end. This is the reason why I brought this up, because fans came out and just exploded at MLB and said, this is ridiculous. The guy hits his first home run, misses first base, and you're not going to give him a chance to go back and touch the base and correct it, and you're going to call him out and ruin his first home run?
Yes,
and
exactly.
But it's in the rule book. As a professional athlete, you have to understand the rules. So when you're going around the bases, you should be paying attention. Be like, did I touch the base or did I not? If you didn't touch the base, go back and touch it.
Yeah, if you have any hesitation whatsoever, just go back and touch the base. I don't care if you look stupid or not. Just go back and touch the base. But, dude, you say, yeah, it's his first home run. Everyone in the Major League Baseball has had their first home run, and everyone else has touched the bag. So why does this guy have to be any different? I feel bad for the guy. Now, I will argue this point. It could be like a strikeout, right? Like a third called strike. It gets past the catcher, and the guy goes to first. It still counts as a strikeout, but you still continue the inning.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
He beats up so why don't you if you did this? You don't put the run on the board. It's still an out, but it still goes in your statistical as a home run.
As a home run, because you did hit the home run, but you just missed the bag, and you got called out because you missed the bag.
I could do that, but no, you shouldn't be able to score a run. No, it's dumb. And only the Pittsburgh Pirates, who'd had that stupid
It's the Pirates. It's the Pirates. But
this is the second week in a row I've talked about the Pirates and a blunder, stupid play.
Exactly. But I think where the fans were coming out with in this play is that they're like, maybe they should have went up to him and said, "Hey, you missed the bag. We're going to give you a chance to go back and correct it."
No,
but I don't. No. But I don't even think you should do that because of the simple fact you're a professional athlete. So you have to know these things. You have to know what the rules say, and you should be able to follow the rules at all time. If you know you missed the bag, go back and touch the bag. You should be paying attention. And as a runner, you can feel if your foot hits a bag. You can feel it. Because I know as many years as I played baseball, I was always taught to touch the corner of the bag as I'm going by. And I could feel it. So I knew when I would hit the bag and when I would not. And if I missed the bag, I would go back and touch it because you have to pay attention to that. Now, as a professional athlete, you have to be able to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and touch on a few of our comments here. So we have Dave Esparza. So welcome in, Dave. We're glad you're watching the show tonight. So dude from the Pirates hit one out and missed first. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Bobby Witt Jr. It was his first career one, and people were like just angry at MLB because they called him out and they didn't count it as a home run. Maybe at that point, Trey, maybe they should have counted it as a home run, but not give the Pirates a run. But they could have put it in the books and said, yes,
yeah, exactly.
You hit it. But now people are saying, if you watch the video, people are saying he touched it.
No,
so,
he
Trey,
didn't.
You watched the video.
No,
what do you think? Do you think he touched it or not?
No, he didn't touch it. No, it's plain and simple. He didn't touch it. His foot went right over the bag. You can see daylight. You can see a whole 6 inches after he hit. He didn't touch the bag. Even if he did, they could have replayed. If they thought he touched the bag, you have replay, don't you? Or is it? Is replay allowed? I don't know MLB replay rules.
Yes, yes, rules. MLB replay is allowed on that. So if you're a manager, you could be like, hey, can you replay it if he touched the bag? But obviously the manager knew he didn't touch it because the manager didn't say, can you replay it? So obviously he knew he didn't touch it. If the manager would have known, he would have done it.
Exactly.
But when we talk about it, so Joanne is also saying, yes, we call kids out in Little League for missing a base. And they do. They get called out in Little League for missing a base. They even get called out in Little League for running past another player and then having to stop and let the other player pass them. Because if you pass another player on the base path, it's an out.
Well, yeah, you got to teach the kids rules, man. You can't just the stupid society today that everyone needs a trophy. No, you don't learn that way. You got to teach these kids the rules the hard way. That's how I learned the rules. That's how Adam learned the rules. You got to. It's the way the rule is. You can't just. And now, what I do have a problem with is that AAA club guy hits a home run, and then they say he didn't touch home plate, and he touched it twice.
Which I'm sorry, Bobby Witt Jr. I didn't mean to say Pirates on Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr. was the Royals one, which is why I was saying, yes, he touched it twice. Okay, Bobby Witt Jr. did touch it, and that's where it came down to because he was the Royals player. I'm sorry, I meant to say that the Pirates player got called out for it, which he did miss the bag. The Pirates player who did it, he missed the bag. Bobby Witt Jr. on the Royals, he touched it, and I'll say he looked like he touched it twice.
He touched it twice. The umpire even dusted off the plate after oh my God. Dude, officiating today is so horrible. It's just so ridiculously bad. Especially MLB's getting a bad rap with this replay stuff, man. How many things have they gotten wrong in replay? And it's just it's simple as can be. MLB has taken a lot of heat, and I don't think they're ever going to recover again. I feel bad for the Major League Baseball because they're trying to do everything right, and it just seems like everything turns on them. Like they finally implemented replay, and they can't even get that right. And now we're having home runs are down this year. We're finally getting pitching back because after all these years of home runs after home runs after home run, now we're taking this substance thing that's been around for baseball forever. Now we have to take that away because now the no hitters and everything are coming. Baseball just cannot catch a break, and I feel so bad for them. And because it's a fun sport to watch. But man, I really feel bad for baseball.
Absolutely, it's been absolutely crazy with that. But they've tried these new rules to say, oh, let's speed up the game. They do all these rules to speed up the game, or maybe not even speed up the game too, but to also try and make fans happy because the fans are like, oh, let's do this because it'll make it better. But then in the end, it makes fans angry because they're like, man, they see the replay and they're still missing calls. So
exactly,
and it's crazy because you call New York and New York is looking at the play and they're like, oh, yep, he's out. He's out. And you're watching it on TV and you're like, wait, how's he out? He was safe. Or the guy hit the bag. So explain to me. You're like, you guys are not seeing this, but we are. And
Well,
so
what's
people
funny-
are still knocking on them.
Well, yeah, because the replays, the way they do it's stupid, right? Like you have this big ass jumbotron in that center field, wherever, and the umpires are on these headsets and they're watching the play, but they can't rule. It's people in New York. They're the only ones that can rule on this. They can't go by the jumbotron. They're seeing it and they're like, wait, he did, but they have no say so. It has to be the people in New York, which is stupid. Every other sport you're looking at, every referee's looking at monitors. Why can't we get a little tablet and Microsoft? Get in there with their little tablet and show the replay to these umpires who are actually on the field and do that. Baseball makes things so difficult, and it shouldn't be that difficult.
Now, this is the one thing I will say about hitting a home run. And this was probably the best sportsmanship I've ever seen. Trey, you might know where I'm going with this. This probably happened, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years back. It was actually in women's softball when it actually happened, and I believe it was Oklahoma. The girl hit a home run, and as she's rounding first base, she like trips over the bag, falls down, breaks her ankle. Okay, now the rules state that you have to be able to touch every base, but your teammates can't come up and help you.
Right.
And so this is probably the biggest sportsmanship I've ever seen. So the other team that they were playing actually came and picked her up and helped her and carried her to every bag and allowed her to stick her non-hurt foot down and touch the bag and actually help her get that home run. I'm like, you know what? That was the best sportsmanship I've ever seen.
I think that won an ESPY too. I think that won an ESPY.
I think it did as the best sportsmanship of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which the only reason I brought it up is because we were talking about home runs and we're talking about like sport. That to me was definitely like you're like, man, why isn't there more of that? Because that was awesome. I would love to see more of that out there.
I mean, because people are betting on these games now and they don't want to see that. And
exactly. No, and plus this was college softball too. So
yeah, which by the way, I gotta give a shout out to college softball, man. Y'all did y'all's thing this year, man. That was so much fun to watch.
There was epic games.
Oh
epic
my
games
gosh!
going on, man.
Everyone thought Oklahoma was gonna run around with it.
I can't believe Oklahoma lost.
Oh, James Madison, they lost twice in the World Series.
Yeah,
twice.
And I couldn't believe they lost.
And no one could. They outscored their opponents like 600 to 145 runs, and it's ridiculous.
I thought they were going to win it all. I told you I thought that Oklahoma was going to win it all.
They did win it all, but the other teams, James Madison made them work for it. Florida State had them down until the lady hit a 2-run shot late in the game, then game 2 to seal a victory for them. But, man, that pitcher for James Madison, playing injured, giving it her all, like a story about her grandpa. It was just – that's what I love about college sports right there. And
you never know what's going to happen.
No, and then all the fans up there and no mask and everyone cheering. That's like the reincarnation of sports being back, right? That everyone just enjoying. It was just – but I will say this about Oklahoma. That was kind of a classless move that they did do to Miss Alexander. She was hurt, and then the coaches were all out there talking. They're doing the little OU chant, kind of mucking it in a little bit while she was hurt. I kind of felt that was a little bit unsportsmanlike, but they made up for it. As soon as she exited the game, they all gave him a standing ovation. So,
all right. Well, no, thank you for touching on that. And as Joanne says, it's girl power. Girl power.
Well, and congratulations. It is because Oklahoma, the first time ever a college softball game was on ABC, and that's a big accomplishment. Y'all keep doing y'all's thing, man. I love watching College World Series. I love watching college softball.
And don't forget, though, this year, too, in women's college basketball, that we had a first, with Stanford and Arizona this year, too. So it was a great championship game. And that game did not disappoint. That was a phenomenal game. When everybody was talking about the men's Final Four and everything, I'm like, yeah, well, you guys are watching that. I'm watching this epic women's college basketball, like right here. It's a championship game. You're seeing a first. You're seeing Arizona against Stanford in the college basketball championship, and it did not disappoint. It was a freaking phenomenal game.
No.
And
girls, keep doing your thing, baby.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that's why every Wednesday on Sports Minute, you'll actually catch us having a conversation about, we generally have a topic on female sports, whether it be softball, volleyball, or whatever. You can always catch it every Wednesday on Sports Minute. We try and touch on quite a bit of WNBA if we can. But we're at that.
We're out of time. I was just gonna say, man, the WNBA has some young stars coming up, man.
They do.
They got some great young talent. It's up and coming, man. I'm telling you, this WNBA games, it's fun to watch. These women know how to play basketball. Some of them are more athletic than the men. So congratulations to everything going on in women's sport. Y'all are rising above the hate, man. Y'all are getting, man. My hat's off to you. Y'all are doing a great job.
So now we're at that hour mark. Thank you, Trey, again. It was another magnificent show. Really enjoyed it. It was another episode of Speak Out. Next week on Thursday, Trey's not going to be here, but I'll be here along with, not sure who yet, but I will have a special guest for you, and we will make it another great episode of Speak Out. But for all you viewers out there, thank you for watching the show. Trey, any final words?
Final words, man. Summer's here. We're beating COVID. Get out this weekend. Go enjoy your family. Go out. Go do something. Life is too short to, man, just do something fun this weekend. You don't have much sports to watch this weekend. Saturday night, just basketball night. Major League Baseball is on 100 times a year. Just go out, enjoy your family, and go out and go do something. It's going to be a beautiful weekend.
All right, and of course, last but not least, before we hop off here, tomorrow, for any of you viewers who want to know a little bit about the analysts that are on Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, we are doing round 2 of, that's right, Roundtable. It's episode 2 of Roundtable. Now, we don't want to spoil who's going to be on that show, but you'll be able to hop on. You'll be able to interact with us and ask us questions about our lives and whatever you want to know about us. And we'll sit here, we'll answer the question. Of course, we're going to have topics, but whatever you want to know, hop on to tomorrow night. Check out Roundtable. It's going to be another excellent show. So for that, I am Ace. That is my man, Trey. And of course, I want to thank Chris for running the background. Thank you, Chris, for running that background.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you guys have a fantastic night, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode of Roundtable. Have a great night.